The Final Fantasy Wiki Podcast is brought to you, sadly, in memory of the Wiki's Dragon Neck Coliseum online gaming store. We've just spent the last 15 years trying to disrupt the game platform Steam with our competing product. We forgot to check if we had a customer base, or to advertise that we were doing this. But we did spend $6 billion of startup investor capital on it, and personally, we're proud of what the Dragon's Neck Coliseum online gaming store has achieved. We never sold a single download or had a single page view, but in our hearts, as innovators in the space, we triumphed. And then the podcast music will start.
Fuck me.
So rest in peace to the DNC online gaming store, and rest in peace to Amazon's attempts to usurp Steam.
Yeah.
To our surprise, I spent the last 15 years trying to overthrow Steam. Nobody knew.
Yeah.
Did a CEO you work for seduce your wife in retaliation?
So this story, just so, because I didn't even know about this came from Ethan Evans, one of the most generic friggin' names ever. This guy recently left Amazon. Amazon laid off 14,000 people last week, so don't feel bad for this particular gentleman. And one of his things that he posted back in August was that apparently his boss seduced his wife in retaliation for when he pushed back on him at work. And I guess was proud of this? Quote, when I say, I truly understand how some executive teams can be political snake pits, I trust you will believe me. Learn from my pain. And then it turns into LinkedIn fucking speak. Because it ends with do the following, and he starts going off on shit.
It's like
LinkedIn speak is bad, but of course you have to watch out for the people who do LinkedIn speak on fucking Twitter.
Oh, I know.
First of all, because they're still on fucking Twitter, but also because Jesus fucking Christ, LinkedIn is actually full of even worse sociopaths.
Yeah, and while I continue
to Twitter, for anything other than sports, I judge you at this point.
Actually, Blue Sky's become a very good sports platform. There was a lot of excitement.
Yeah, if you wanted
MLB.
to go insane in those couple of baseball matches that went forever, Blue Sky was the place.
Yeah.
Yeah, there was the World Series that went on for like 18th inning. And for context, for those who don't know baseball, there's normally only 9 innings.
Yeah.
So anyway, this is the Final Fantasy Wiki Podcast. I'm BlueHighwind, your host. Joining me tonight is SomeColourMage!
Hi.
And Technobliterator!
Hello, I promise you, I will not seduce your wife in retaliation for whatever you say negatively about me.
I might, though.
I'm very happy with my fiancé. I don't plan on seducing anyone else's wife.
Techno doth protest too much. And SomeColourMage is the only one you could trust because he said nothing about your wife so far. It's really weird how much we're talking about your wife on this podcast. Well, one of our flaws here.
No matter what your partner is, I probably don't swing that way, so you're fine.
Yep. You see, one of the flaws with our conversation about your wife is that we never validated our core assumptions before investing heavily in the solutions.
That's very true.
To quote Ethan Evans.
Yeah, so for context, his quote on this is the guy who has apparently spent 15 years trying to build a competitor to Steam. His quote was, "We didn't validate our core assumptions before spending 15 years and who knows how many hundreds of millions of dollars on a competitor to Steam that no one wants."
And no one knew about.
No one knew about it either. Like, everyone's seen the backlash to Epic Games Store.
Yeah, and Epic Games Store has done a hell of a better job than whatever Amazon was doing.
Luna.
Yeah, even they somehow managed it up. managed to pull it off.
Luna,
the Amazon one's called Luna.
Yeah, the less successful Stadia, which somehow, by the way, I looked it up. Luna is still going. It still exists.
That's incredible, actually. I've legit never heard of any Amazon gaming stuff whatsoever, except when it comes up in a context like this, where we're talking about the fact that it exists.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah. Also, at this point, they're complaining, comparing Luna and Stadia to Steam. It's like, well, no, Steam's not a cloud gaming service. There's a reason why Steam is superior to those, and it's because Steam is a technology that actually works.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like, I will say about 10-ish years ago, when I first heard and tried out cloud gaming, and I occasionally try it out every now and then, right? I was under the delusion at the time that cloud gaming was going to be the future because, and the logic makes sense, right? We've gone to cloud music, we've gone to cloud movies, so it makes sense. Oh, it's only a matter of time before video games follow suit. Except here's the problem. Video games require an input, and there's input delay whenever you stream anything.
Well,
So
don't
I'm not
worry.
saying
Don't
it will
worry.
never, ever
AI will fix all that.
Oh, Jesus.
Yeah.
You can go.
I'm not saying it will never, ever happen.
Sony's cloud streaming service still not available at all in the Southern Hemisphere.
Yeah,
Really?
exactly. Like,
Wow.
Yeah.
there's so many markets where it's just simply not viable because the cable internet just isn't good enough, right?
Yeah.
And anyway, so
to be mildly
Like,
on
even
topic.
Even with more traditional interactive online gaming experiences, it's still like a problem. Like, compare Final Fantasy 14 from where I live in far southeast Sydney. Using the North American servers is a ping of 250. Using the Sydney servers is a ping of 5. That's a huge difference.
Yep.
And a lot of these companies just don't want to build the infrastructure. They think that the entire world is like the United States, maybe one or two countries in Europe.
Well, isn't the entire world the United States? We made America great again, so now it's all that matters.
Well, yeah, I mean, look, you have the World Series, right? It's called the World Series, except there's only 2 countries that participate in it, and America won it, so America's the whole world.
There's 29 American teams and 1 Canadian team. There used to be 2.
They just lost.
Yeah, they did just lose. The other Canadian team went defunct almost 20 years ago. Rest in peace.
I didn't know about that. I didn't even know.
Yeah, the Montreal Expos. I went to see a game of theirs in 2004, just before they folded. There had to be about 20 people in the stands, I swear to God.
But, yeah, so it does look like the whole video games are going to be the next Netflix thing. I'm not saying it's never, ever happening in my lifetime, because I'd never say something as declarative as that. But it's not happening anytime soon, because I think we can get into the big piece of gaming news, which is that Xbox are basically folding from the console wars. They've basically said, yep, we lose.
Yeah, they did. They did give up. I was going to say we maybe want to move to Final Fantasy news.
Oh, yeah, I mean... but this does
kind of have implications because of Square Enix's multi-platform push.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say.
Yeah, well, it does look like that. I guess what's going on with Final Fantasy VII these days? It's out on Xbox now, or is it out on Switch now?
It's coming out on Xbox and Switch, but it's not out on them yet.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm like, why is Final Fantasy VII constantly in the news? Why is Final Fantasy VII's director out doing this publicity tour? I'm like, oh, it's getting re-released on something.
Yeah, Remake Integrate is getting re-released, and then Rebirth will be sometime after that.
Yeah, so they're...
Yeah, do we have the date for that? It is coming January 22.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And then Rebirth sometime later, and then I believe Part 3 is supposed to be multi-platform at launch.
Yeah, so Naoki Hamaguchi's been fielding the various softball questions of Aerith or Tifa? And are you going to make another game once you're done with the trilogy? The answer is maybe. to all of them.
Hmm.
Or
Good answers.
yeah, or for Aerith and Tifa, the answer is actually just yes.
Yeah. I will say, if we're on the subject of Final Fantasy VII, I don't think this is big enough in the Tactics Remake to include in the part where we talk about Tactics Remake. But I do want to say that I've heaped a lot of praise on the voice actors from 7 Remake trilogy, right? And I'm going to continue to do so because Cloud's voice actor, which is Cody Christian, and Aerith's voice actress, which is Brianna White, they are both back in the Tactics Remake. And Cloud does Cloud. Like, Cody just does the same Cloud we've always heard. He doesn't do anything special. He doesn't do anything new. He's just fine in it. But Aerith does this really interesting, like, she does Aerith but in a British accent, and you can kind of tell that, like, to fit the setting. I just think it's actually kind of adorable. Like, I actually think it just really suits. So I really love what they did with that.
Is Brianna White American or is she English?
She's American.
Oh, okay. Okay,
Yeah,
so she did.
Very Californian.
I wish that Cloud had gone for a very rough English accent. I bet he just couldn't have done it. Like, he just came out too silly.
They might have tried it, yeah, and then just said, nah. Just be yourself, mate.
Hello,
Well,
I'm
also,
Cloud.
like, you know,
Here, glove. I'm going to take a
my
flower
God.
from you. Oh no, we have to go after Sephiroth. You know?
You know, like, of course, the Flower Girl is not meant to be Aerith. It's meant to be someone who resembles Aerith, who's in Ivalice, while Cloud is just Cloud. So
No, it's Aerith. Come on, what are we talking about here? Aerith's in the game, Sephiroth's in the game.
And correct me if I'm wrong, I think this is the first time they've actually confirmed that she is in fact Aerith.
I mean,
Right.
she looks
Like
identical
Flower
to
Petal is.
Aerith. Yeah. It is.
Yeah, before it was just kind of, you could tell. It was just kind of obvious. But now it's very explicitly, they call her Aerith.
Okay, there is not a literal plot continuity mechanism for it to be either Aerith or Cloud from the Final Fantasy VII universe, but I don't think any of those things need to be explained.
They actually do explain it in
Yeah.
Cloud's place.
Why? Don't.
yeah, if you
I
bring
know.
Cloud to the final area, they explain what happens now.
Yep.
Why? No.
Yeah.
No, stop.
We'll get onto that when we talk
No,
about like
no.
the stuff they've added to the
I
game.
don't
But they
wanna
do
hear
in
any
fact
of this.
add that.
I don't want to hear
Yeah.
any of this. This is bad. So, speaking of things I don't want to hear about that are bad, what a transition! Oh boy! All right, so new Dissidia just dropped or is going to drop. So it's
Do you
Dissidia. What's this one called again? Dissidia Duo Death? No,
The
Duodenum. Dissidia Duellum.
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 Duellum. I think?
Dissidia Duellum Final Fantasy.
Yeah.
Duellum or
But-
Duellum or
Duellum.
It says a lot that I'd forgotten about it until you just brought it up.
Well, I was just looking it up for, podcast notes, and I had forgotten over the last 20 minutes. So the tagline
Yeah,
for this
I mean-
is, remember who you are, or as Mufasa would say, remember who you are. And then,
They basically said, it just randomly popped up on their socials, the next Dissidia's coming, right? And we were all thinking, oh great, Dissidia's been dead for a minute, and I want to see Dissidia come back, because I think a lot of us, those games weren't perfect, but I think a lot of us would love a new Dissidia. And then, like, what they did announce was just kind of
and
weird.
then we looked at like the following line of the announcement that said for mobile, and we realized,
yep, it's
I'll
coming
say,
out
like-
on mobile devices only.
Yeah, for now.
iPhone and
I'll say,
Android.
like, that's not inherently a bad thing. Because, like, I like Top Ron, right? I'm probably the only one in this chat that played it that heavily. But there's quite a few people on the wiki who will say very good things about that game. Because it was alright for a bit. Like, Opera Omnia was the first time there's been a collaborative game where you got pretty much every Final Fantasy character, aside from like one or two, like Riku didn't make it, for example, from 10. But pretty much every Final Fantasy character was in that. It's the first crossover we've had where you get to see like Sabin and Tifa training together. You get to see like Zidane like flirting with all the girls across the Final Fantasy series because of course. You get to see like Kina meeting, you know, Lulu. You get to see like, or just sort of random stuff that happened in that game. And that's on top of like, for a minute, the gameplay was actually quite fun, you know, for basically the first few patches of the game. Then later on, I think they made it too complicated for its own good, and I think the power creep got a bit too much. Later on in the game, they kind of got away from themselves a little bit, and then they had to shut the game down because a lot of people quit after that. But I didn't think it was a bad game. I actually thought, as far as... because I don't really think gacha games are very good. But that was one of the most forgiving ones. Because you could play that game without spending a penny on it very easily. And, you know, it encourages you to spend a little bit on it. Because you think, well, I've loved this game so much and I've played so much of it that I'm going to reward the developers for that. And that's how gacha should be, right? So if this is in that vein, I think that's fine. Right, so I'm not going to completely write it off.
Well,
but I still have massive question marks around why the fuck is this game set in Tokyo?
Well, that's one of the better things about this, I'd say. It's that you have an urban fantasy vibe, and you get to see you get to see some of your favorite Final Fantasy characters, and also, Krill from Final Fantasy V. Nobody's favorite Final Fantasy character.
No.
They're all in, streetwear dress, and in some cases it looks quite cool. Kain is wearing a hat. If you ever wanted to see Kain wear a hat, he's got a hat on. Zidane is dressed like Android 18. Lightning's worn several costumes already. Why don't we go through who's actually in this game, just so people...
Yeah, they did it differently this time, didn't they?
Well, the ones that have been announced so far, yeah.
Yeah, normally Dissidia's main character from every game. But this one, they're like, no, we're going to switch it up this time.
So we have Warrior of Light from Final Fantasy 1, but really from Dissidia, because that's a semi-original character there. Kain Highwind in a hat. Krill from Final Fantasy 5. Terra from Final Fantasy 6. Cloud Strife, of course, from Final Fantasy Tactics. Renoa Heartily from Final Fantasy 8, Zidane from 9, Lightning from 13, Gaia from 14, picked mainly because she's the most goth character that they could find, and Prompto from Final Fantasy 15, so that he could wear a choker, I think is mainly why this was decided.
Yeah.
And they are in modern Tokyo, doing modern Tokyo things such as 3-on-3 battles against Iron Giants and Marlboros. This will not be a 3-on-3 versus... It's not 3 versus 3 like Dissidia NT.
Yeah, which is good in my opinion.
No, that game was fucking horrible. 3-on-3 3D fighting games. Bad idea. Interesting experiment, but terrible in execution. No, you'll just be joining up with 2 friends, or more likely 2 PC characters, and fighting a monster. Another weird thing I'm noticing on the website for this game is that there is a social media aspect. So you can go and follow players that you're interested in. That's their quote there.
Oh dear God.
That's not new. That's not new, actually.
Oh, is this another one of their games?
No, so Opera Omnia did that, and I think a lot of their mobile games kind of do that, where you follow them, but all it means is basically whoever they set as their main character, it means that you can occasionally summon them into your fight to take over.
Oh, you just mean the friend system stuff? Okay.
Yeah,
but there is chat though, so you can be like, let's chat together about these story episodes together. #story. What's your favorite? I really like Terra's episode. And then there's a little emote of Terra as Chibi.
Yeah, that's new.
Player
that
A,
was
by the
new.
way, this hypothetical player A, they are a hashtag before crisis fan. So definitely not a real person. Player C is a cat person, and it's open to invitations.
Interesting.
Yeah, you can go read what you want about that. Player B is a Final Fantasy V fan, and always ready to party up.
Interesting.
Yep, all hypothetical. And you can also get outfits, which I think is what the real attraction of this game is going to be. I would say that like 99% of the appeal of this thing is outfits, and they should be just selling outfits. Like, don't even bother with the JRPG element to it. You should just make Persona Final Fantasy.
Yeah, I mean, weirdly, you've actually convinced me that this is a good idea.
Oh, Persona Final Fantasy? They should have done that like 10 years ago.
Well, that too, but like, no, I like the more I think about it, this. Okay, so I'll say that this is the company that randomly decided to do Final Fantasy Fortnite. That was obviously a dud. It was never going to work, and they scrapped that fairly early on. But
it might have worked if they bothered to put out a PC version.
Might have done, but equally, this couldn't. The thing is, like, this might be one of those ideas that really works out in Japan, but just doesn't translate over to our markets very well. Because, mobile gaming is really popular over there, and gacha games are still relatively popular over there. I don't think they're as big as they used to be, but they're still, big enough. And, the idea of having games like this where you play in boss battles together. Like, I remember during Dissidia Opera Omnia, I remember hanging around in the Discord and other people would fight bosses together in that game too, right? The more difficult one. So it's a real thing, and it's a thing, there was like a time where the Square Enix developers would go on Twitch and then they'd say like, oh, if anyone wants to come join us, if you're lucky enough, you can join in on our like joint boss battle together. And those were quite fun. So this could be alright. Like, they could be onto something here. It's just, it's just not what I think most, or a lot of us, especially in the West, want, which, what we want is basically we want you to do the PSP games again, but on modern consoles, and, just do them better than you did them last time, which I think you can, and, it's just a shame that we're not getting that. Like, I'm not going to write this thing off completely.
I will.
I'll play
I'm fine
it.
doing it.
Fair enough. I might like it. I might not. But either way, I just wish they'd give us the other thing.
Yeah.
Look, I'm not opposed to the concept, but I know because it's Square Enix that the monetization is going to suck any form of enjoyment out of it whatsoever.
Yeah, that's the big worry.
So Nomura had a little thing that he brought out. He didn't really have anything interesting to say. The only thing I found interesting is that he lists this as the 6th Dissidia game, which genuinely confused me, but luckily his quote here actually goes through what they are. So first is Dissidia 1, then Dissidia 012, which of course is the second game because it's a Square Enix game. The second one has to be the 12th one. That just makes sense. Third would be the arcade, then Opera Omnia, then NT, which, as far as I know, is just a console port of the arcade game, so I'm not sure if that counts as a separate one. But it does lead to the issue, which is that Dissidia is a fighting game franchise, and this is not a fighting game.
Yeah, I mean, that's true, isn't it? I think this is more of a successor to Omnia than it is anything to do with the earlier ones.
Like, to be fair, Opera Omnia was very good at adapting the bravery system into a turn-based RPG.
Yeah, it was.
Oh yeah, there's also bravery stuff in this, but never found that interesting in any of these games. So, you know what? What I want. This is what I want for a Dissidia game. Make a 2D fighting game. Make like an actual fighting game.
Do you know? I was just gonna say that.
Yeah.
Like, I was gonna say I would love them to do like, what's the name of that? The Smash Bros. Ripoff that Warner Brothers came out with. Like,
Oh, that's already like closed. They closed that twice already. What was that thing called?
Okay, never mind that.
I mean, it was a good shot, but it's Warner Brothers Smash Bros. It was called Multiversus. I think
That's the one. Yeah,
it is still.
Like,
Wikipedia says it's still going. I'm not sure if that's true though.
yeah, like something like that. I would love to see them come up with like that.
Delisted on May 30th. It is a commercial failure.
Really?
Yeah. Yep, didn't work
So
out.
I've heard good things about that one.
Well, unfortunately, people did not want to
missed...
play as Arya Stark fighting Bugs Bunny.
You see, they treated it like shit for a while, and then they took it down for ages, claiming it was a beta, despite the fact it was never pointed as a beta, and then it came back even worse.
Yeah.
Oh, so basically, some executive just never believed in the idea, and then said, well, I'll put it out and just, like, sabotage it to prove it failed. And, oh, would you look at that, it failed. Kind of deal, probably.
I mean, of all the fighting games to have an NBA star, this is better than Shaq Fu, at least.
But yeah, like, I would just prefer a more traditional fighting game. Alternately, if they don't want to do a fighting game but still have insane multiplayer crossover RPG, well, Square, you do have a working relationship with Koei Tecmo, and they have this little unit called Omega Force that just make the same game about people killing hundreds and hundreds of mooks over and over again.
Are you saying they should make a Muso?
I'm saying they should make Dissidia Warriors, yes.
Yeah.
That
would be another really good one.
I would hate that more, but it would make them more money.
I haven't played the Persona 5 one. Was it any good?
It must be like all the other ones.
It's weird. It's weird. It's better written than Persona 5, but
really?
gameplay-wise, it's kind of weird.
Yeah. Anyway.
If you want Haru to be an actual character, then you won't play the Muso game.
I tried to get my fiance into Persona 5. She ended up preferring Final Fantasy X.
She doesn't want to date. She doesn't want to date your teacher.
Nope.
Or your doctor.
No. Well, she is a teacher,
okay.
So that character kind of made it weird.
Yes, it was exceedingly weird on the page, and in that context, would be even weirder.
Yep.
So, what's the release date on this thing?
Whenever she wants to crack me up, she just does the Katua dance now.
Let me see. Do we have a release date on this? I think it's sometime 2016. I don't think we have anything more specific than that.
2016?
2026. Sorry, I've been doing that.
There we go.
I was looking up. I need to look up something from 2024, and I wrote 2014, and Google had no idea what I was talking about after doing that. So it will be free to play, and yeah.
I hope it's. All I'll say is I hope that it does well enough that they make an actual Dissidia fighting game again, or a Dissidia Warriors, or something like that,
or Persona Dissidia, or literally anything other than what they're doing. Or how about this? Like you have this idea where you're gonna send your anime characters to modern Tokyo. There's this other game that Nomura is working on that we haven't heard about for a while. It's called Kingdom Hearts 4.
That's true.
Yeah.
That's true. We haven't heard about that for a while.
Yeah, where's Sora? We saw him wake up in Tokyo. In, like, Shinjuku, I think, specifically. What's going on with him in Shinjuku?
All of the Kingdom Hearts news just kind of disappeared when Missing Link died.
Yeah. What's he gonna buy from 7-Eleven there? I want to see what kind of weird buns he gets. Get a sandwich with, like, frosting on the inside. There's wild stuff at Japanese 7-Elevens. It's a paradise in there, and it's exceedingly cheap too because the yen's weak. Though the dollar's probably losing value every single second during the course of our long-running disaster, so maybe it's not as cheap as it used to be. Anyway, that's not really much of a story. There really wasn't much news besides the Dissidia thing. There was Final Fantasy 14 stuff. Does SomeColourMage, do you have anything on that?
I mean, we've only had the first big thing. So the next patch, hold on, I have to go grab this from the Wiki's Blue Sky account now. This is where's my stuff? Right, here we go. Patch 7.4 Into the Mist will be coming December 16. With how Final Fantasy 14 usually works, this will be the lead up to the next big expansion pack. Lots of general stuff that I know most people here don't care about. Where the hell is my thread gone? There it is. So one big thing that they've done that is like so you remember the most recent mod stuff with the big thing they took down. And as per usual, the Final Fantasy 14 team does actually look at popular mods and try to start incorporating parts of that to discourage people from actually modding the game. So they've announced, as of patch 7.4, they're removing all of the job restrictions from the glamour system. You can just make yourself look like whatever the hell you want.
Oh. Can you make yourself look male pregnant, though? Is that officially an option?
I'm pretty sure that's still a bug. Pretty sure that's still a bug.
Okay. You can tell one of the 5 things I know about Final Fantasy 14. One of them is that you can make yourself look male pregnant.
God damn it.
Is that everything we have from our Final Fantasy 14 correspondent?
I don't think we've got much to talk about this month. No.
Okay.
They'll probably go into more detail on things next month.
Okay.
Well, I mean, it will because, they have to talk about it before December 16, but yeah.
Well, when we say next month, it's going to be this month because we're late, so we'll have to have a November episode. Figure something out.
Okay, yes.
Alright, I'll just go through something I randomly found. So there is a modder who is working on decompiling all of Vagrant's story. One line of code at a time. Yeah. The project is currently ongoing. It is... what's the gentleman of this person's name? Looking through here. Sorry. I had it just a second ago and then lost it. The modder's name is Sir Pounce. And they'll be working on re-releasing it more or less in a... This will probably be as close as we're ever going to get to a modern version of Vagrant's story. They've been working on this for the last 10 months. So good for them. Yeah, people...
Yeah, that's cool. Make Vagrant Story more accessible.
Yeah, I've always been terrified of Vagrant Story. Everything I hear about that game's systems scares me to death, and I've never played it. So I've been...
I mean, the game systems would probably still be completely insane, but,
Yeah, but I would like a version of that game where I don't think I would play about 12 hours and then completely screw myself because I've been, building in the wrong direction. And it turns out the game plays a completely different way than how I thought, which is how I've always figured what's going to happen. This very scenario happened to me with Final Fantasy VIII the first time I played it. I just played the game wrong, and then I got to disc 4, and I could not continue. I was just completely fucked. Vagrant Story was made by a guy named Yasumi Matsuno, who in the year 1997 made a little video game called Final Fantasy Tactics. And that little video game called Final Fantasy Tactics has been re-released on many things, but not Amazon Luna. Because why would you bother? So, Final Fantasy Tactics Remake is our main topic of this month's episode of the Final Fantasy Wiki Podcast! And I assume you both have been playing it?
Yeah.
Not only have I been playing it, I've been writing a lot of the wiki content for it. It's been a real team effort, this has. So a lot of us are doing a brilliant job, especially with things like the ability pages, job pages, etc. So, well done to basically everyone who's been helping out on that. I'm really happy with what's shaping up there.
Okay. Yeah, there is already a very long script page here.
It's a beefy game with a lot of characters, and they are people with a lot to say. So, our count...
this version.
Yeah. So, where is everybody in the game? Has anybody finished it?
I am up to Chapter 4, when you fight Zalera, the Death Seraph.
Refresh my memory on who Zalera is. I forget. The Lucavi are starting to blur together in my mind. Is that Fulmarv?
Oh, as of this version, it's pronounced Lucavi.
Okay.
No, it's not Fulmarv. I don't want to say who it is because that's a mild spoiler as to who it is.
Okay.
But I will say it's near the end of the game, basically. Chapter 4, near the end.
Does this boss have 2 fly honeys with him?
Yes.
Okay, all right. I know where you are then. Okay.
Yeah.
SomeColourMage, where are you?
I am at the start of chapter 4. Actual very start of the chapter. I have not gone into the first fight yet. I am just walking around the world map clearing all the errands I can do and such.
Okay.
Yep.
And I have done an abysmal job because I am at chapter 2. The start of chapter 2.
I think we've all played enough of it to say...
I have beaten this game twice already, and I was playing chapter 1, and I did not feel much of a push to go and finish the game a third time, unfortunately. I'm sorry to admit. But now it's fully voiced, and we get to watch the adventures of Ramza Beluv, which apparently is how you pronounce that. Belv. Beouf.
Ramza Beouf.
Belv. And his buddy Delita, and, Agrius, and Mustadio, and Beowulf Cadmus. Presumably he's still in this game, but not Balthier.
He is. Yeah. Balthier's not in this game anymore.
No. And for that, they should all be embarrassed, and there's no excuse for it. And Thunder God Sid, though I think neither one of you are up to him yet.
Nope, I've got him.
Oh, okay. All right. So
he's absolutely completely tearing it up.
How are you having a hard time? Once you get Thunder God Sid, the game's effectively over.
Yeah.
I know, mate. He's
the boss that Techno's at is extremely luck based. I remember this. Even with all your OP characters, you can just get one-shotted by him.
The only way for it to not be luck-based is if you got everyone ribbons, which it is possible to do before this fight, but it's much easier to do after this fight. So I haven't got everyone ribbons.
Yeah, so I tried to play this game. I'm like, oh, well, I've beaten this game twice already. Let me go and do a challenge run for myself. And I'm going to not level grind at all, was what I aimed for. See,
you've done this. You've done the same thing I did with Metal Gear Solid 3 Remake, where I said, I've beaten this game about 8 times, it's my favorite game ever. This time I'm going to go through the whole game without even being seen once. Hence, I have not finished that game.
Yeah, so I breezed through Dorder Trade City, and I'm like, oh, well, that was infamously hard, and I remember being stuck at that for, a week as a kid, back in
Oh god, yeah.
Quote unquote a kid. This was in college when I played this. So I breezed through that, no problem. Then I got to chapter 4 where you fight what's his name's sister, Weegroff's sister, and I'm like, holy shit, I can't get through this. I'm completely underleveled, and I'm just getting my ass kicked. I'm like, crap. Well, there goes that entire challenge run. And I kept trying to do it. I'm like, all right, I'm going to try to do as little level grinding as I can. So literally every single next battle I run into, I would just bash my head against it for like an hour before being like, all right, fucking hell, I'll just go back to the Mandalia Plains and throw rocks at each other again. Anyway, that's the grand strategy of Final Fantasy Tactics. You go to the Mandalia Plains and you throw rocks at each other.
Or you focus spam, either one.
Yeah.
Yeah, I did the opposite. Okay. This is the first time I've ever gotten this far in Final Fantasy Tactics. I have tried to play this game twice before. I tried to play the War of the Lions version on PSP, and I'll be honest, I used to love everything about Tactics except actually playing it. So I never had an appreciation of Final Fantasy Tactics before I played this version of the game.
Well, this version runs a lot better, I'll give it that.
It runs better, and it's got so many like quality of life changes. You know, it's so easy to just restart a fight that you failed. You can't like get trapped in those dungeons where it's like the multi-fight ones where if you beat one fight, you have to start all over again. You can't get trapped like that anymore. That just doesn't happen now.
Well, and you do have to start all over, but you get the option to actually just leave.
That's what I mean. Yeah.
You don't have to load up a save or reset the entire console.
Exactly, yeah. And then there's that one chocobo fight everyone warned me about that said don't do any level grinding because the chocobos will kick your ass. They don't do that this time. It's still difficult, but you can basically be over leveled as fuck and it won't like, you know, say, haha, fuck you, restart the game
you can just refuse a random encounter that happens on the overworld versus where you would do previously, you'd have to save every step you make just in case you run into the chocobo fight and your game's over.
Yeah. Yep, exactly. So there's just all those sort of little changes that have allowed me to actually enjoy this game this time. And I am so in love with Final Fantasy Tactics now. And I know I probably sound so stupid saying that, because everyone in this community has told me Tactics is one of the best ones. Don't sleep on Tactics. I remember we did, it was a few years ago, Blue, we did that list of what our best Final Fantasy was, and people said, well, we can't put 11 in, so we're going to do Tactics instead. And then Tactics ended up like 3rd or 2nd or something. And at the time I was like, man, I couldn't get into that game. And I just felt, I just felt so left out when it came to Final Fantasy Tactics.
And we judged you heavily for it.
Yeah, and I don't blame you, because I'm playing it now and it's fucking brilliant.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not talking about just... I will rave about the gameplay for a second, right? You know, I played this game basically over-leveling the fuck out of everyone, knowing that you can do that this time. I was like, oh, great. That was what I couldn't do before, right? You know, because I used to, like, get so stuck on fights and I would just not know how to beat them. And now you can say, oh, we'll just go learn ninja on everyone, get everyone dual wield.
Well, that's really what you should do. The real worry is you won't be able to win any of the random encounters, but you don't have to win any random encounters.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, and you can just do that now, and you can level the jobs up to get all the abilities unlocked early on. And then I just did that, unlocked them, and by the way, I actually weirdly had fun grinding like that. I weirdly enjoyed doing that, and you know, that just has changed the whole game for me, because now I can approach fights thinking, well, what abilities do I use here? You know, which combination of jobs should I use with which support abilities equipped, right? Those are the kind of stuff I used to love Final Fantasy V for, the job system, right? But I feel like Tactics is slightly better at it. You know, it doesn't have the BlueHighwind, unfortunately, and it doesn't have the Mystic Knight, Those are the two things I miss from Final Fantasy V. But what it does have is just it seems like every single job has a way of like breaking the game in it. And there's just so many mechanics that you can barely scratch the surface of how many different ways there are to play this game. Like, I got up to a fight where everyone's casting stop on me and everyone's casting all these sorts of statuses. So I'm thinking, well, how do you get a ribbon to like protect from all the statuses? And there's a way to do that. But that way basically involves you can actually tame some of the creatures. You can recruit some of the creatures that you find on the map and get them to join your party. And then basically like the creatures that you raise, you have to like kill your own creatures pretty much to poach from them. And that's how you get the ribbon. And I'm just like, this has just unlocked this whole mechanic in the game that I've completely slept on, which is the concept of taming creatures to be in your party.
Are you actually using monsters in your party?
No, I'm not.
Yeah, nobody does.
But like now you've just found there's this whole way of playing the game that I just never even thought about before. You know?
It is funny that even the devs considered, nobody plays the game with monsters. They added an option to the menu that is like, you can make that so that if you're viewing a monster in the unit list and press dismiss, it won't even ask, it just throws them out instantly.
Yeah.
Oh, one fun thing is somebody found this on Blue Sky is if your character gains too much faith, they're going to leave your party. That was probably in the original game too, but it also applies for monsters too. So you can give a Chocobo 95 faith, which means it goes and leaves your party to go and join the church.
You've always been able to make your monster become disgusted with humanity and go find God.
I do wish that they had changed it a little bit, so instead of them leaving your party, they like ascend into heaven mid-battle when their stats go too high. This is Chocobo just being assumed into the divine. Alright, so let's do some overview plot stuff, I guess. So Final Fantasy Tactics is set right after the end of like the 100 Years' War, effectively, and you are now watching. Yeah, you know.
That's what it's called in game, but like historical context.
Yeah, it's like the 100 Years of War has just ended, and the War of the Roses is about to begin.
By certain historical events, particularly English historical events.
Yes, it was cool because I was playing this game in England this month. I was walking around the Tower of London, and I'm like, I could set up an archer position right here. And also, this is where, War of the Roses stuff happens. This is where Henry VI got murdered. And right over there is a closet where there's a vacuum, whose name is also Henry. It was very cool to see that. I'm like, oh, well, there you go. That would be the Blue Lion faction in this game, effectively, I think. I get the blue and the other lion mixed up. Doesn't matter. Duke Larg and Duke Boltana, both are basically irrelevant because they're going to end up being tools of the greater overall plot, because this is a game about a level of corruption and depravity in society that is frankly unimaginable. Every single level, every single aspect of this world has been completely corrupted and is based on a lie, including even the narrative that your introduction is given. Like, this game opens with a character promising to tell you the true story because the history of what has happened is itself corrupt, and the wrong person has been considered the hero of this tale.
Well, I don't know about... we're getting into why this narrative is so brilliant, but I don't know that you'd necessarily say Delita's the wrong person to be a hero, because in his own right, Delita is just a very, very complicated character, and we don't want to spoil it too much, but basically...
No, I'm talking like big picture, yeah.
Yeah. But what you find is, like, he's a well-intentioned person, but he's very much a the ends justify the means kind of person.
Yeah. And Ramza is...
Whereas, like...
Ramza will do the right thing immediately because his dad on his deathbed told him to be a true knight. And even his own house, nobody's actually a true knight. These stories are just stories. Ramza's the only one actually living out the courtly virtue fantasy.
Yeah,
exactly.
And that is one nice change that is in the Ivalice Chronicles. It doesn't do anything about gameplay or anything, but like when you hit chapter 4, Ramza still technically a squire because he never finished his stint at the academy. He abandoned everything before that, but his squire job gets replaced with gallant knight. He has taken his father's title for his own.
That's cool, and he wears a ridiculous costume with a lot of ass. But
he does still have the arseless chaps.
Yes.
Yeah, so like the story is, there's so many themes that the story covers pretty much. Like it's very different from every other Final Fantasy in the most Final Fantasies there's a main villain, with the exception of 3 really. There's like a main villain, and the main villain kind of represents whatever's 10 as well, I guess. Like 10 doesn't really have a main villain. I guess
it does end up,
kind of.
No, Sin is the main villain. Seymour is the loser wannabe that wants to be the guy that usurps the main villain and doesn't even achieve it.
Yeah, exactly.
Seymour talks big, but in the end, he gets one round punched to death by his own mother. So
Yeah. Well, what I'm trying to say is this game doesn't have a Sephiroth. This game doesn't have a Kafka.
Well, it kind of has a Sephiroth.
Kind of.
Yeah.
They have a guy that would rock Sephiroth's drip.
This game basically has every different character in it is a different form of bad person, right? Because they're all just people with their own political ambitions, their own motivations, and what they effectively all want is power, right? You have one person, for example, I'm not going to reveal who it is, who starts out with this whole, I'm the noble revolutionary, I'm fighting for the people, and even he succumbs to the same fate as everyone else. And it's so kind of about how, you can so easily get twisted and driven by what are the main forces of evil, which is the Auracite. You can get so twisted by them into, just effectively become, well, not effectively, they literally become monsters. Like, they literally become demons.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And that's kind of the main villain of the game, is just everyone is so twisted in this, and the only good guys are the ones in your party, and Ramza, pretty much. Everyone else is just a different version of a piece of shit.
Yeah, like the game opens with you as the squire for Gafgarian, who was a knight in the previous war, and does at least have enough knightly powers that he can go and fire big energy blasts across the battlefield and is one of the better units. But that dude is completely corrupt, and when he says that he is just a mercenary out for his own gain, he's not doing Han Solo. No, he's literally a mercenary out for his own gain, and he's going to betray you.
Yep.
Yeah. And the entire thing is Ramza basically realizing that, there is basically no path he can walk but his own, and any pursuit of anything else is kind of just going to lead to shit. Like, the very first chapter, the entire plot is, there are bandits running around the place, so go fix that. And you slowly realize that for as much of the bad things that they're doing, the bandits are right. These are war veterans who are being forced to live in poverty because nobody gives a shit.
Because you lost the war, which means nobody's getting paid. So they're all going to starve.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And
while some of them have gone too far, they are mostly reasonable people who are only against you because you're basically the cops.
And the main backdrop. Oh, sorry. Sorry, I didn't know if you were done yet.
And that culminates in they confront the leader, including your brothers, and they've kidnapped the leader's sister. And the order's given to just kill her so he can kill everyone else. And that's the point where Ramza realizes, no, screw this. I'm just going to do whatever I want. To hell with everything else around here.
Yeah.
They did not make
And the
Argath any softer in this version. If anything, he's nastier
No, they
now that
made
he's
him-
voiced. Yeah, he's so much worse.
Now that he's
Yeah,
voiced, he's even
my
worse.
God,
He's-
I was so glad when they kept the line that is talking about what's her name, Meluda's parentage, and the voicing of it is just so on point. It is the most snooty, evil British accent they could pull out of that man.
Yeah, and I unfortunately, having grown up in England, I knew too many people like Argath, unfortunately. But, like, the main backdrop of the story is, as they pointed out, it's the War of the Lions, which is obviously based on the War of the Roses. But the main backdrop is between Duke Log and Duke Goltana, where, Duke Log basically thinks that, he basically just wants to run the country because the queen is like just a massive authoritarian. He wants to be a massive authoritarian himself, like just fuck the council. He wants the king to have all the power. And you look at what he does, and the how he'll just use anyone really for his own ends. You look at him, and he's just the actual scumbag, right? But then the Duke Goltana on the other side, who just has, obviously ideological disagreements with Duke Log. Like, the game shows that Duke Goltana is not much better. Like, he's still kind of a prick. Like, it's said by basically everyone around him, like, no one really wanted him to be king. They just, like, either they were following Sid, who everyone did like, or they just hated Duke Log. They just thought he was the lesser evil, which is kind of, how the real world works, really.
I don't think
like,
either one of them
is as complicated as that.
Neither one of the dukes were ever actually going to be king. They were going to be the powers behind the throne for either the prince or princess.
Both sides basically just wanted their puppet ruler in charge.
Yeah.
Exactly. You had one side backing the queen and the other side backing Ovelia.
Yeah.
You know what's funny with Argath? What's funny with Argath is that he's so incredibly nasty, because I just played a game called Crimson Echoes a few years ago where there is a character named Rob who is straight up Argath, but they redeem him and he becomes a major party member. And then meanwhile I'm playing this game and Argath is worse than he ever has been. It's like, no, we're not taking it back. We have a point to make with this guy.
Like the main problem with this version of the game not having the War of the Lions content in it means that there's never a point where Argath comes back from the dead and you get to beat him up again.
Yeah, he's a zombie in Chapter 4, briefly.
Argath is basically like if Steiner had no redeemable qualities and never got better.
He's worse than Steiner ever was.
He's far worse. Yeah. But I mean, because you made the point about how you can technically have a character like that redeems himself, and Argath never, ever even tries to redeem himself. And you almost wish when you're playing the game, there's the point where you can rescue him early on, and you wish you could just not rescue him.
It's your first...
Sadly, you can't do that.
It's the first heroic thing you do as a knight in training. It's like, well, we got to go rescue this innocent person being waylaid on the road. And it turns out he's the worst person that you're ever going to meet in this game.
Yeah. And they kind of reveal...
Later on, because when you first see him, you get a dialogue option that sort of changes the battle a bit. You can choose whether to prioritize Argath's safety, in which case the victory condition is that Argath can't be KO'd throughout the fight, or just kill everyone, in which case it doesn't matter. And no matter which side you pick, he will later chew you out for it. He is just a fucking craven asshole who does not care who you are, because you're not going to use your noble blood to help him, so he doesn't matter to you.
And also his AI is as random as it ever was. That's one thing they never fixed. So if you do select the option that you have to save him, there's a chance that he's going to march forward and attack one of the guys and get himself killed in about 2 turns, and there's no way to save him. Then you have to reset.
Yeah, that reminds me of the Chocobo fight, where there's just a Chocobo that always... You have to rescue the Chocobo, but it always goes into the top right corner and always gets itself trapped. and then there's a goblin that always kills it unless you're fast enough. Like that fight did annoy me as well.
Well, it's not as bad as a certain battle in Jeanne d'Arc,
AI,
let me tell you.
Yeah, the guest AI can be kind of weird. Like, the enemy AI tends to be pretty good. The party AI, if you turn that on, tends to be pretty good. It's just guests in particular, and they've never changed that from the original. The guests are still suicidal.
Yeah.
And I believe that in War of the Lions, you could control the guests.
No, you
right?
could not. I thought,
No, you can't?
I think I read somewhere upcoming to this version that you would be able to control the guest characters, but I was mistaken in that.
Yeah, you actually have less control over the guests in this version, because guests can't change job anymore.
Oh.
Right.
I did think that you could do something
their
with
job
that. They're
their
stuck
job
to
is fix
Squire.
their secondary...
Yeah.
Like their job to fix their secondary job command can't be changed either. So, yeah.
So by the end of Chapter 1, Delita is practically useless because he's still a base 1 Squire and he can barely do anything.
Yeah, he remains a Squire, and he very quickly charges Argath, gets knocked down, only for you to get halfway through the fight where, due to how the mechanics of dialogue with guests work in Final Fantasy Tactics, Delita will come back from the dead just to yell at Argath.
Yeah, it's so funny.
I had so much trouble with that fight that I never got that far. I would either beat Argath or my entire party would get wiped.
Yeah. Yeah, like if it's a conversation with Ramza, he'll get up to say his lines, then immediately fall over dead. But no, Delita is just too angry to die.
Yep. So I think we can say that they did expand on some of the characters for this version of the game. So my understanding is the War of the Lions, and I'll say again, like, because I didn't get that far in War of the Lions when I played it. So there's certain extra content in War of the Lions story that I only know about because I wrote the script page for it. Stuff like there's a bit where it's Delita and Ophelia escaping assassins that they fight off together, and that's not in this version anymore.
No, I didn't know that was original.
The cutscenes that are in the game, in the War of the Lions version, those CGI cutscenes, those actually are in the game.
Well, some are, but some aren't, weirdly.
You can... Oh, is that right?
Yeah, so the scene where Ramza and Delita are looking at the sunset together, and it is extremely homoerotic, that was an FMV in the PSP version. And when I played it, it was entirely all the in-game graphics.
No, so that's still in there, but you can only access it in the menu.
Oh, okay. That's weird.
Yeah.
That's
so
really
in the
in
the menu when you go on the events section, which is still in there, right? And by the way, thank you Square Enix for adding names to some of the events that weren't in the original version, because I was writing a script and it was a fucking pain in the ass when War of the Lions didn't have names for certain things. He added them. Thank you. I love you. Anyway, let me get back to this. You can go back to the events menu, and then there'll be an option that says view scene or view movie. And the view movie basically views like the PSP, the War of the Lions version of that scene with voiceover and everything, with a slight translation change. So in this version, when there's that bit where when Delita rescues Ophelia, that's not really rescues. Delita kidnaps Ophelia in the first battle, where in the PSP version, he has this line that says, "'Tis your birth and faith that wronged you, not I," right? And they changed that in the Ivalice Chronicles, because it's using the actual in-game graphics. He no longer says that. He says,
if you feel wrong, blame yourself or the father. And I'd like to elaborate a little bit on that one, because that cutscene in War of the Lions was actually a contextual change. In the original, and therefore in the Ivalice Chronicles, what happened was that Delita kidnaps Ophelia. Agrius chases after him, and he says the line to taunt you. You know, in the original version, is the "blame yourself or God" line.
Yeah, that's right.
Meanwhile, in the War of the Lions, what happens is that he says that line to Ophelia just after he's assaulted her. So like he's like sort of commiserating with her position. So like some people do get annoyed about that translation, the "'tis your birth and faith that wrong you," but because of how the scene was changed, it's actually a very accurate thing for him to say.
It does feel like the entire game's script hasn't been rewritten as much as they just rewrote the entire game.
Yeah, well,
it's like the same scenes, but
most of the script is unchanged from the War of the Lions.
Mm-hmm. I think it's just like the fact that it's voiced. It feels a lot longer to get through it because you have to listen to the performances, and the performances kind of give a context that may not have been there originally. It does feel like you're playing the game for the first time in a lot of ways. Also, it has been 15 years since I played this game, so that makes a difference.
So the line "'tis your birth and faith that wronged you, not I" is still technically in this version if you view it from the view menu in the events menu. But otherwise, it's effectively the same. It's pretty much the same exact script. So if any of our listeners want to check this out, on the script page, I've listed both of them. So there's instances like that where you see how pretty much the cutscene, the cutscene that is the in-game graphics is very like maybe one or two lines here and there will have changed from the CGI cutscene, the FMV cutscene, whatever you want to call it, where they'll mostly be saying the same thing with a couple changes, like a context change like that. So it's really interesting what they did there. Having done the script for this game versus the original, there's a lot that was actually expanded upon. There's a few lines that are just changed that, you know, there's a few lines that just feel like I wonder if it came down to just what the preference was for the localization. And I'm trying to come up with an example as I'm scrolling through it. But the main changes, really, the big one is that all the extra characters that you can bring along with you, Agrius, Mustadio, Cid is the big one. When you bring them along to fights, there's a good chance that they'll have dialogue with whoever the villain is. And it basically makes them... Yeah, it makes them more like a real character. It gives them more personality. So, if I bring up an example of one of the early ones with Agrias in, when you fight Gafgarian, if you bring Agrias along, then she'll have this whole thing about, like, well, what the hell are you doing here? She'll be asking him that, right? And then Gafgarian will respond, like, how can you really claim you're much better than me? Because I know about what your history is. And they actually added a lot more to Agrias's history about how, you know, like, it was basically she had an elder brother who was killed, and so her father raised her to be like a man, and that's why she went the path of being a Lion's Guard knight and all of that. And now you have all these characters that get to interact with her and know about that. And, you know, Chukalain, for example, in the original version, or at least in the War of the Lions version, I don't know if it cut anything out from the PS1 version, but Chukalain basically exists and then has the death line. And in this version, Chukalain has this whole, like, monologue back and forth with Ramza, and then also has the monologue back and forth with Agrias, where, you know, he knows stuff about her and he's judging her. You know, Mustadio, he has a couple of lines in certain fights that you just wouldn't expect him to have him in. Cid has, like, whole speeches with some of the villains. That's the main change, honestly. Aside from that, like, there's changes to the script here and there where they just sort of added context onto things that the original script kind of left out. Again, Chukalain, big one. He didn't have anything here. Now he explains why he's trying to get the crystals. That minor spoiler for one of the Lucavi, the second Lucavi. I'm not going to tell you who it is, but early on you have no idea why he's trying to collect the stones, why he's after the Aurosite, and now he tells you, oh, my plan is to give every single human an Aurosite to make everyone a Lucavi, because that's my way of like fighting the power. That's my way of, allowing the peasants to rise up. But obviously, the Lucavi would want that, because that means the Lucavi take over the world, blah, blah, blah. Like, that's the main thing they changed in terms of the writing to this. So it's significant enough that I've had to give it its own page, but it's not a massive, like, complete rewrite of the translation, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I just want to add for the Agrius and Gafgarion stuff you're touching on. The final fight against Gafgarion, it's actually pretty funny, because if you bring Agrius, she will basically just call Gafgarion out for being sexist, and Gafgarion's response is basically, you could have just said, okay, boomer.
Is the way you say her name Agrius?
Agrius, I think.
It's Agrius?
That's how you pronounce it.
Okay,
Agrius.
What are the voice actors doing? I don't think I've heard anyone say
They're saying Agrius.
They're saying Agrius? Okay. Just want to confirm.
Agrius.
All right.
I've just known this game without dialogue for so long. I sometimes get the pronunciations off.
Look, I had a tough time in my life when I had to stop calling him Zidane. It turns out it's Zidane.
Yeah.
It's painful, it suffers. And then in some case people say Titus and they're wrong. That's just wrong. What the hell are you on about?
My fiance says Titus.
It is Titus.
Well,
Titus isn't a name. Titus isn't whatever.
Neither of them are real.
None of them really are names. I should definitely actually play this game. Maybe I'll lower it to like easy and just breeze through it, because I have done this before. I don't feel like upgrading my units between battles and anything like that. I'm so tired. I'm 34. I'm tired. It's one of these weird things. The
line in question, I found it. So the line in question. So Agrius does her whole speech, and she ends it with, "But I will not judge you for your narrow-mindedness, nor will I mock or despise you. Our worlds are simply different. Ever will there be things we struggle to comprehend about each other?" And Gafgarion responds, "Why use so many words when you can just call me an old relic?" It's brilliant, isn't it?
Shut up, Karen. I am not going to listen to somebody that looks like Saber. Out of my way. All right,
she has another one with WeGraph, which is quite interesting. As I'm scrolling through them,
I'll want to discover, I think, a lot of this myself naturally. I did think that there was a ton more dialogue in battle where you were fighting Argath at the end. I'm like, were there this many conversations that go on? And it's like, it's interesting because sometimes you get different ones in the middle of the fights. Maybe the game's like aware that you've seen this one before.
That's one that they added quite a bit more to that fight. That's one example. The one I noticed that they added the most to was Chukalain, definitely. Like, they added loads to... Chukalain has nothing in the foot. Is it pronounced Chukalain? Chukalain?
It's Irish in some way. I would not be able to tell you.
Yeah. I mean, my Irish ancestors are probably fuming with me. I wouldn't be able to tell. Same.
I don't know my Gaelic at all.
Yeah, I don't know a thing. But... yeah, okay, whatever. The first Lucavi, the fat bastard, we're going to call him that because that's what he is.
Call him the Oogie Boogeyman.
Nothing. The Boogeyman has
Oogie
nothing.
Boogeyman.
These are his 2 lines. These are his 2 lines in the War of the Lion script. You take no pains to hide your wonderment. How I shall delight to watch you die, each excruciating ecstasy. After he's defeated, how strange that I, the undying, here should die. A death come early, ere my master could return. That's his whole 2 lines. He has 14 lines now. And he has whole conversations now. With Agrius, he has one with Ramza, where like it's crazy. But I want to share before we finish the topic about the script. I want to share my favorite new line from this by far. My favorite line in the script, because it kind of just sums up what's happening in the plot, and I just think it's absolute brilliance, right? It was spoken by Elmdor, where he basically says, like, his line, and I don't want to paraphrase it, so I'm gonna find it. He says, "I dare say your victories over Cardinal Delacroix and," I'm not going to reveal the name, it's a spoiler, "have left you brimming with confidence. Why negotiate when you can simply strike us down?" I mean, that's perfect, isn't it? That's basically what Ramza does throughout the whole story, is he finds various bastards, and they're trying to convince him, like, "No, you should join us. Like, wouldn't it be so cool? We're going to rule the world together." And Ramza says, "Fuck you," and kills them. And that's basically exactly what happens. And
nobody ever seems to learn that
came
Ramza
across
cannot
that,
be bought.
I know. And when I came across that, I was like, yo, that's just brilliant, man. I feel like,
Ramza is a very simple person. Are you going to help him rescue Alma? Then you're good. If you're not, then okay, we can probably still find some common ground. If you're getting in the way, then fuck you. I am going to dual wield 2 ancient swords that you probably never heard of straight into your face.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, all this to say, I never had an appreciation of Final Fantasy Tactics before. Now, I honestly believe it's the best written game in the series. Like, I genuinely, I don't see what other game comes close. Like, I can see someone saying, you know, I prefer, for example, Final Fantasy VI's story. Because 6 is a very simple story. It's about nihilism versus anti-nihilism, whatever the opposite of nihilism is. It's a very simple story. The villain has his philosophy. You oppose that, and you strike him down. You know, Sephiroth is very, like, he's a well-written and interesting character in his own right, but it's very straightforward, where it's, you know, Sephiroth is the twisted guy who becomes the villain. You have to strike him down to protect the world. You know, Final Fantasy X is kind of a simpler version of this story, where it's kind of like, you know, the church are corrupt and evil, and you have to strike down this evil and corrupt church because
church is always,
you know,
corrupt and evil.
They've just been, yeah, because they just want to maintain.
Well, they don't let
power
you
for
fuck
themselves.
dragons.
It's just a simpler version. Yeah, and it's just a simpler version of what this is, where, you know, there's an evil and corrupt church in it, and they're the main villains. But then even behind them, there's the demons behind them that I guess are the real villains. But then you have all these political forces that, as I mentioned, you know, these are 2 forces that aren't, you know, one's not really better than the other. They're just different versions of evil, all while the people underneath that still suffer.
Well, all right. I have a question for you.
Story.
All right, having gotten further in this version of the game, because I've always had a mild complaint, because I think this game is spectacular in its depiction of a society that is decaying and requires a revolutionary force to redeem it in some way. And you end up with 2 visions of what that revolution will be. Delita thinking that ends justify the means. I'm going to change from within. I'm going to out-corrupt the corruption without realizing that he is dooming himself by selling out his own soul. And Ramza, who is actually doing something inherently revolutionary by not playing any of these political games and being an RPG hero in a world that seems like it's entirely impossible for that to exist. Yet, all that human struggle at some point ends up losing its venom by chapter 4, because you end up fighting evil Jesus, and it turns out that demons were running everything. So my question is, do you think the demons give kind of an escape hatch for humanity in this? Or is humanity as screwed as it seems like it is, and the demons are just taking advantage of it? Did the demons do it, or did humans do it?
Yeah, I think that is an interesting question. I would say it feels to me more like how I don't know if this is a script change or not. I did write the script for War of the Lions.
Yes, you personally wrote it, not Matsuno.
Yeah, I personally wrote it. Yeah. No, I wrote the script page. Not the same thing. Yeah.
You transcribed it. Right?
Yeah, I transcribed it.
Okay.
I will say
you created an illuminated manuscript on our wiki.
Yes. Okay. I don't know if it's a script change, but I will say what my interpretation of what Matsuno. How do you pronounce it?
Matsuno.
How
I don't speak Japanese.
Of what he was trying to say.
Yeah.
Yeah. Of what he was trying to say really was that the demons are able to take advantage of humans who have allowed they've basically the aura sight isn't inherently bad or good. It's just that humans behind everything have an impure intention, really. So even the revolutionary guy who might have started with the pure intentions ultimately just gave up on that because it's just so much easier to go down the impure path to achieve power. And through achieving power, then I can do the good things. But, the pursuit of power is in and of itself corrupt. So my interpretation of it is just that what it's basically saying is that humans who are driven by political ambition and selfishness, they end up down the corrupt path which these demons benefit from. And the reason the demons are so opposed to Ramza is because Ramza just can't be corrupted by that. So what it's basically saying is, don't be a piece of shit. Like that seems to be, I guess, the best way to put it. But it's still complicated because, as you said, Delita, in out-corrupting the corrupt, minor spoiler, is successful in that regard.
Well, so, successful, quote unquote, because we never get to see him do any of the good things that he says he's going to do.
Yeah,
like he apparently becomes a good king, one of the greatest kings in Ivalice. But we also know that he and Ovalia basically spend the rest of their lives scared of each other, worried that they're just going to decide each other is no longer useful and just kill them. And he's left wondering. Well, he is left wondering if choosing a life like Ramza's would have been better for him.
Well, all right, so we're fully spoiling the final scene, but doesn't he kill Ovalia straight up?
But, No, actually, Matsuno's basically been explicit the entire time that he's been asked that neither Ramza neither Delita or Ovalia died.
Okay, they wrote that scene pretty poorly because she looks fucking dead after he stabs her with a sword.
Yeah, she does, doesn't she?
And I was always wondering if Delita was going to bleed out after that. If that was his last words.
Yeah, but like the aura sight point, yeah, the aura sight are not automatic, are not like by default evil. It's just that the most common use for them is someone wishes for power, and the aura sight responds to that by turning them into Lucavi. But at the same time, like the aura sight are what bring Marek back to life. Like they can be used for good ends. And sometimes they can just be used for weird ends, like the aura sight copied Cloud's soul and dumped a copy of him in Ivalice. What was the point of that? It just happened.
Well, the fan base craves for Cloud. Is that how he ended up in Smash Brothers 2? And Airgaze? And what else has Cloud been in? Airgaze, Smash Brothers. I think that's it. I think that's all of Cloud's cameos and things. Dissidia, I guess.
Yeah, I will say when they did add that, they add that dialogue for Cloud that explains how Cloud got there. It's so poorly written. Like it's not poorly written in the explanation is bad. I don't mind the explanation.
The explanation.
It's just that Cloud sounds so like. Yeah, it's just Cloud sounds so uninterested in the whole conversation.
Well, maybe they're lampshading it.
To be fair, that is entirely in character for Cloud.
Yeah. Maybe they're lampshading it. It's like people asked us this question that is inherently stupid and should not have an answer. It's like, why are you here? Because I'm a cameo. That's why. There doesn't need to be an explanation for why I'm here.
Yeah. Yeah, but I don't know. I just think the way the scene just comes off so incredibly awkward and so like just a bit weird, honestly.
It's because he's not doing a bad
just
Cockney accent. He should be doing one. All right,
Yeah,
so I came here on the all
that's
side.
it.
That's how I came here, all side.
That's how fucking hell. That's it really, is that just Cloud's voice actor, like Cody, just in all the other lines he sounds good, but in those lines he just sounds like he's kind of phoning it in a little bit.
Although,
like,
maybe
that's
they just figured that, to hear these lines, you still got to bring Cloud to the final boss fight, and while they buffed him a bit, he's still not that good.
Maybe, it could be just the performance of Cloud. Like, it may not translate in this form because, it's Evily's characters, so the little cartoon peoples with no noses. Whereas that performance of Cloud would work in a fully realistic, fully HD version where you're seeing every single little tick of the character's face. So a more subtle voice performance may work. Whereas in Evily's, you gotta go fully like this, Gov, okay? Fish and chips, governor.
I don't think they had fish and chips in those times.
Yes, of course they had fish and chips. Well, you know what they wouldn't have had? They couldn't have had chips. Potatoes. They're an American crop. So this also bugs me when I watch Lord of the Rings and Denethor is chewing on the cherry tomatoes. I'm like, you can't have tomatoes, dude.
Yeah, I think...
not that Middle Earth is actually the Americas, but whatever.
Yeah, I would say like on that subject. Actually.
Oh! Sorry. One more thing to annoy everybody with. Have you ever gone to Medieval Times dinner and tournament?
No.
This is an American chain restaurant.
Those are a thing in Australia.
They're an American chain restaurant where you get to watch a tournament of lances while you're eating your dinner. Okay. So this was what was on the menu. It was tomato soup. This is supposed to be medieval Spain, is what the claim is. So like in 12th century Spain, and we're watching a tournament. But tomato soup first, then a roast potato, then a chicken, which is the one thing that actually could be on this menu, and then a chocolate cake. All those things. And corn. And corn. All of those things are from the Americas, other than the chicken. The chicken is the only thing that could have possibly been on a medieval menu. It's like they went out of their way.
Interesting.
Yep. Sorry, you had an actual point about Final Fantasy Tactics.
No, yeah. I was just gonna say how, like, when I first played this game, my interpretation was this was just so different from every other Final Fantasy. Right, to the point where it felt like it could almost be its own franchise, Of course, you have your chocobos, you have all the jobs are obviously based on Final Fantasy V jobs, and you have all of that, and you have a Cid in there, but that aside, you've got a different logo, you've got a different composer, you've got a very different kind of storytelling, and obviously you got a different battle system. So it felt more like it was trying to be its own thing. And I didn't get why they made this a spin-off of Final Fantasy when it was barely a Final Fantasy to begin with. But
I would guess marketing is the main reason. This is like historically one of the first big Final Fantasy spin-offs. There was Mystic Quest and there were the Game Boy games that I think were only Final Fantasies in like the American release anyway.
The Game Boy Mana game, that is a Final Fantasy game, but yeah, the Final Fantasy Legend series, that's just marketing.
Yeah. So as we all know, or I hope that if you're listening, this game is the spiritual sequel to Tactics Ogre, which is part of the Ogre Battle franchise, which is a much smaller franchise in terms of its number of games and marketability. So Square Enix brings in the Tactics Ogre team and basically asks them, and this is Square at the time, pre-merger, go and make us another one of those, And they have the brilliant decision, oh, if we just put Final Fantasy on this and add chocobos, it will have a much bigger reach.
It's kind of like the other way around, I think. Like, is like Sakaguchi wanted to make a tactical game. He already had the name trademarked and such. And then partway through this idea, got Matsuno put in charge, so it became a Matsuno game.
Okay.
Just with Final Fantasy trappings.
Okay, you know more of the history than I did. I was mostly speculating there.
Yeah, so my take on it was that it barely felt like a Final Fantasy to me, aside from, those few things.
Well, define what a Final Fantasy is, really.
Well, that gets into a whole conversation. Like, it's gotten so much broader now, right? But having replayed it, what I've noticed really is Final Fantasy Tactics had an enormous influence on the mainline series after that. Not just the fact that Final Fantasy 12 ended up being set in basically the same setting as Tactics, but like hundreds of years in the past compared to Tactics, right? That's the more obvious one, and 12 is the one that most takes after Tactics in terms of, like, let's try and do a political intrigue story, let's try and do this, that, or the other, right? But even outside it,
Final Fantasy 10, I could see quite a lot in terms of
10
world
does
scale.
It? Definitely.
The recurring... Is this the trope codifier of the recurring Protestant view of all churches are evil in JRPGs? Is this the first one to do it?
Maybe not in JRPGs, but in Final Fantasy, definitely.
Yeah. Like that one too. Then you've got, I want to say that, like, I can't speak to how successful it was at this, but 16 feels very inspired by what Tactics want to do.
Well,
Thunder God Sid's in there.
Studio 3 has a bunch of tactic stuff in there. It is not just... It is, these are full of people who either worked with Matsuno or loved Matsuno's work at the top of the day.
Right.
They managed to get Matsuno to start working with Square again after they left. He wrote for 14. He has been involved in this remaster of Tactics.
Return to Evil is in
one.
14. You can go and see your favorite Final Fantasy Tactics characters very briefly in full HD. Including, like, Lad and Elysian are there, which is wild.
And, like, the director of 16, he got his start working on Tactics.
Oh, he's been there that long?
Yeah.
Wow. That's a deep cut.
Well, that
really tells you that everybody in Square Enix is like 50 or 60 years old now.
Pretty much, yeah.
Probably. But that was the next one, was that, Final Fantasy 14, I didn't realize how inspired it was by Tactics until I, obviously played Tactics now. And 14 is probably, it's either their most or second most successful Final Fantasy in history.
It
so
probably would be number
game,
one now in terms of sheer profit.
In terms of sheer profit, but in terms of how, like, recognizable it is.
Cultural cachet. It's Final Fantasy 7.
Yeah, that's when it becomes.
It's Final Fantasy 7 number 1, probably still 10 number 2, and then 14 easily.
Might be, yeah. But if we're to include 10 in that, then that's 2 of the 3 most culturally noticeable Final Fantasies, both heavily inspired by Tactics. So clearly, this game massively impacted the franchise going forward in what I would say is definitely a good way in terms of the writing. So we need to give this game huge props for that. And I'm going to join the chorus of those millions of Final Fantasy fans out there who are saying, why the fuck have we not had a sequel to this? Why have we not had another Tactics?
Well, technically speaking, that's a favorite story.
System?
Yeah, we've kind of had multiple successors to this. There was, of course, the Tactics Advance games, which have a very, very different tone. They are not trying to do this. If you want a game with a similar ambition of a cultural story. They did try with triangle strategy. Most people did not like that game. I did, but it's not in the same league as Final Fantasy Tactics in terms of storytelling.
Yeah, it's
Okay.
like triangle strategy is pretty good. It's flawed, but I mean, most of those HT2D games are still flawed in an interesting way. So
it's like its view of how history works at least is trying to have like a resource economic level to it, but it's still so basic and so broad strokes that it's like, why? No, not really. You tried though.
But of course, if you want a sequel to Tactics itself, that's Vagrant Story. It's like the only Ivalice game that is actually set after Tactics. That the openings of Advance and A2 don't count. And there is stuff in there that does talk about what happened to a few of the characters of Tactics after the events of Tactics.
Yeah, and one thing that's really lacking, I'd say, if you want to make like a good sequel to Tactics, you got to have somebody who is at least as much into history as Matsuno is, and I don't think most people who make JRPGs are. Like he's heavily studied War of the Roses at least.
It also has to be mentioned. Yasumi Matsuno is a political scientist. Yeah, he knows this stuff. He trained in this stuff. Final Fantasy Tactics is based on a mixture of the 100 Years' War, the War of the Roses, and the Japanese Lost Decade. Tactics Ogre is based on the Yugoslav wars. He very much pulls from medieval and modern history to tell these stories about the nature of the nature of humanity.
Yeah, he's I mean, I would say that one of the most cool things that Game of Thrones is doing, which is this like concept of nobility versus the fiction of nobility, and how you actually can be a hero in a dark time like this. Final Fantasy Tactics is doing the same thing, maybe even slightly more successfully, because Final Fantasy Tactics is ended, and A Song of Ice and Fire will never end, and thus we'll never get to George R.R. Martin, where I suspect that story will finally end, is the heroic Starks will save the day. But we'll never get there, because he's never going to finish the story, so it doesn't matter. You can just write whatever interpretation you can. And whatever you want it to. You could watch the
HBO ending, and you won't like it, but that's what you get.
Yeah, the HBO ending where things teleport, and we yada 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 the whole ending, and none of it mattered anyway. It doesn't matter. Ugh, that last season was really fucking bad. I will say, like, I do praise this game deeply, but do not take this game as accurate for medieval history or combat in any way. It's not trying to do that. It is completely broad strokes. The medieval Catholic Church was not evil, for one. It was the very core also, to medieval culture.
Just in general, you cannot yell at someone so much that they become so demoralized they turn into a chick.
No, you can't do that. You couldn't turn anybody actually into a frog. Crossbows don't work like that. Whatever, et cetera, et cetera.
And you can't, during the middle of a battle, to start monologuing at each other about
you could.
Their ideology versus yours, and expect to not be stabbed in the throat halfway through it.
No, you could. All medieval literature has people stopping mid-fight to have long conversations. That just has to be true, right?
Sometimes you gotta just do something for the aesthetic, right?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, no, it's like, this always does bug me, just how much the Catholic Church has to be evil in just every single thing of history. We just let the Protestants have that it's always evil. It's like, they weren't great at times. They were deeply corrupt by the time the Protestant Reformation happened. But for most of the Middle Ages, if you were in medieval times, the church was the core of your culture. It was where you got any form of education. It's where you got any form of art. It's where you got any form of festival or even medical care would most likely be coming from a local church or monastery.
Yeah, and look, I'm not a big fan of the Catholic Church, but I can look at the Vatican and look at whatever the fuck America has turned pro. And I think I can easily point out which one's better.
Yeah.
Mm.
Also, Jesus was not actually a demon, from what we can tell historically.
True.
The sources don't seem to indicate that Jesus was actually a demon. Josephus does not say that, but
yeah, it would have been cool, but that doesn't seem likely.
Also, Jesus wasn't a hot armored angelic creature of unclear gender.
Or a woman, apparently. Isn't Saint Najora a woman in this one?
You know what?
I
will watch the ending cutscene because I've always been curious
Najora's
about
gender has always been very confusing.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Well, let's just say that Saint Najora has a lot of gender.
I will say, I'm Catholic myself. I don't want to make a huge, religious thing about this, right? So I hope this doesn't sound like I'm just deflecting. But the sense I got from the storytelling was it wasn't necessarily saying we're taking shots at this church in particular. It was saying that, when you allow organized religion to become as powerful as it is, then the people inside that religion just use that power for the sake of it, because you do end up fighting a lot of the people who are heads of the Church of Galbados in this game.
Well, yeah,
right, who are based on the Catholic Church, and a lot of them just admit, yeah, we don't believe in this. We don't believe a single thing that we're preaching. Mm-hmm. The demons have told us that actually, the gods don't exist. We don't believe in any of this. It's just really convenient, and it helps us keep the masses controlled.
Well, yeah, you go. That's the game's incredible cynicism at work. It is remarkable.
Yeah.
Yeah, the thing is, if you're going to go on about the corruption within religion, you're often going to take whatever religions you know. So if you are a Japanese writer, it is most likely going to resemble either or the forms of Christianity in the medieval era, where there were Portuguese traders and such.
Or, you'll end up with nuns with swords standing on lampposts, fighting vampires, that sort of thing.
Okay, but that one's not about church corruption. That's just saying that it looks cool.
Yeah.
Because I think in Final Fantasy X, in the Church of Yevon, I think that one is supposed to be not explicitly about one religion. You go to the Yevon temples, they resemble
is a lot more Shinto coded than other examples of evil religions that most people in the West would know. Yes,
it still does have bishops and a pope who are completely cynical and know that their entire religion is based on a fraud. It does have some inspiration from Mahayana Buddhism. I think might be part of it. There, you could find a bodhisattva metaphor somewhere in the final Aeon process, but I don't have enough knowledge of that religion to go and make that argument, but I'm sure you could construct it.
Right, yes, I forgot in my list of religions that Japanese writers were more natural in Buddhism. That's the third big one.
Yeah, those two, Shintoism and Buddhism, would be what they would be taking a lot of aim at. And they obviously would use the Catholic Church in this instance because that was who was running England at the time, and this setting is pretty much based on medieval England. I just think, for me, my favorite thing about Final Fantasy V was the job system. And when I replayed that to look into the writing of Final Fantasy V, it's actually a bit more well thought out than I would have remembered, but there's a lot of stuff you'll miss in that story that if you're not paying attention to, you just won't strike you really, right? And I'm just so glad that in Final Fantasy Tactics we have a game that doesn't just have a brilliant job system and become so addicting in that the gameplay is absolutely, like, phenomenal. But we also have a story that's equally as phenomenal as the gameplay. And that is so my number one wish now for Final Fantasy 17 is I want a job system and I want storytelling that's as good as this game. And, you know, I didn't play 16, so I can't comment on it. But I do see that was what the aspiration was.
They don't achieve it. I'm very sorry to report.
Okay, well, without commenting on that, it's very clear that that's what the aspiration was. And, you know, when 16 came out, I just thought, oh, this is just Game of Thrones. They're just train chasing. But it doesn't, having played Tactics, it doesn't seem like that was the case at all. They weren't trend chasing, like, other competing stories today. They were going back to what worked really well for Tactics. Let's see if we can do that again. And, you know, now having played Tactics, I'd be much more open to another attempt at that. Again, I don't think they should do that because I like when Final Fantasy does something new every time with a different setting. But, you know, if Final Fantasy 17 has a kind of, like, political intrigue story and, like, I don't know, another, like, cyberpunk setting or something like that, and brings the job system back, and is... Because the job system is something that we've seen so many games, like, not Final Fantasy mainline games, but you've seen your Bravely Defaults, your games like that over the years that clearly, you know how good that system was and are trying to do something again with it. I just wish they'd do something with the job system again, and that they'd have writing as compelling as Tactics could be again. And that would be my main wish for Final Fantasy 17 now, because I've gained a new appreciation for how good Tactics was, and also an appreciation for a lot of the good ways it influenced the series after it was done.
I think tactical RPG is a really solid place for a job system because you end up with such clear roles in combat, where a turn-based RPG, it's like, what do you really need a ranged attack in a turn-based RPG? Is it all that different than just hitting something with a sword than hitting something with your bow? But in this game, you end up with elevation as a major consideration, and holding the high ground is such a big part of the early fights, especially. Though even in the later fights, once you end up with your super magics from Agrius and Thunder God, like, the strategy sort of bleeds away. You just hit things really hard. But you end up with tanky classes ending up being so much more important because there actually is a reason why you'd want them to absorb hits. They actually can hold a front line. Whereas in Final Fantasy V, that doesn't really exist. As good as the job system is there. Yeah. I mean, 13 would do this, would find a way to clearly define its 6 roles, but it had to deeply, deeply simplify the entire point of RPGs down to its bare essentials.
Yeah, I just want the job system back, man. Like, I just give me the Final Fantasy VII Remake combat system, put the job system on it, and see what you can do with it.
I feel like shit, bro. I just want my job system back.
I mean, technically, there is that in Final Fantasy XIV, of course, but that's another way that 14 was, I feel like, influenced by Tactics again, because
14 is also MMO standard stuff. I also note that 14 as it progressed, did pull back on the kinds of things that the job system is associated with, because the job system that we consider it was codified in 5, where you can mix bits and pieces of jobs together into breaking shit open. That's just kind of how it works. And 14 did have a bit of that in that when the game launched, when Actually, yeah, I do think this does trace back to 1.0. That there were abilities that you could learn that would be marked as all classes instead of just the class you learned as, and you could mix those together a bit. But they eventually took that out because there's basically there was basically one correct option for every type of class. So instead, they changed it so that, okay, if you are a ranged attacker, you always learn these specific abilities at these levels, regardless of which ranged attacker job you are, and stuff like that.
Here's a random question. Did anyone have any basic units that they fell in love with, or was it all just the named characters?
I decided to name all of my units after real Final Fantasy characters, so I'd remember what kind of job I was teaching them. So my monk was called Tifa. My dragoon was called Orin.
Yeah.
Right. My mage was called Vivi, and I had another mage called Garnet, and I just kind of did it like that. Mm-hmm. So Tifa stuck with me the whole time. The party now consists of her, Ramza, Sid, who's fucking incredible, Agrias, and I actually really like Mustadio. I've been bringing him around a lot. I don't know if Meliador is going to force Tifa out of the party, though. I've heard that she's actually okay.
Meliador has the ability to just smash enemy armor, so she may outclass Tifa.
Yeah, she probably will. Because, like, the crush abilities is so overpowered. I thought it was bad enough when Mustadio, the guy with the gun, I thought it was bad enough when you can teach him the knight abilities and rend armor from, like, 8 tiles away or something stupid like that. I thought that was bad enough, but when the crush abilities can basically do that, I was like, oh, fuck me. I've just, like... Sid has just won the whole game. And if Meliador can do that too, I've got 2 people that can do that. Yeah, sorry, Tifa, but thanks for your service, but you're out of my party now.
It's probably going to end up happening that way.
Yeah. Like, I just generally find a lot of the special units, their special job classes fun. Mm-hmm. Like, yeah, you can do some insane shit like arithmetician, but then every so often the game will just dump you an extremely broken base class right on you, and it's just really fun or funny to work with.
My last question for those who played War of the Lions is: do any of you miss the jobs from War of the Lions, specifically Dark Mage and Onion Knight?
Dark Knight,
I guess.
I never got to use either one of them. They're so high up the job chain, and there's really no point to getting to them by that point.
They're both unwieldy and stupid. Like, Dark Knight is basically a player-safe version of Gafgarian, but not only does it have the most intense job level requirements in the game, it also requires you to have 20 confirmed kills, which means you have to drag out maps and wait for enemies to crystallize and such.
And that's pretty high for this game, too.
Onion Knight has the same kind of gimmick as freelancers do, that they get more powerful the more jobs you master. And also, they do not have their own command. So even if you are at full power, you are still deliberately hamstringing yourself by going in as them. They're not good classes.
If you do have a generic unit by the end of the game that isn't just full up with hero units, odds are they're going to be an arithmetician, and they'll be nuking the entire map of Holy anyway, so you would not need this thing.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Though, I mean, maybe I have room now that I don't have Balthier anymore. My sadness is fast on that one.
Definitely. If Balthier was still in this, I'd have him. He'd have knocked Tifa out.
Friggin' ridiculously good. He had barrage and had higher range than Mustadio, so he could snipe practically anything across as far as the map you can imagine.
Yeah, it sounds like I would really.
Everyone else is playing Final Fantasy Tactics, and Balthier, he's playing crap, what's it called? The Alien game.
XCOM.
Yeah, he's playing XCOM.
XCOM.
Yeah.
I did this fun thing with Agrias where I gave her the white mage job, but used equipped swords on it. So she's effectively the white mage for my party, but she's basically Cecil but stronger, really, because she has white magic,
fully paladin.
Yeah.
Yeah, like if you want Agrias as something that isn't Holy Knight, equipped swords becomes very very useful for her, because then she can also use her Holy Knight abilities in whatever job you want.
Yeah, and her Holy Knight abilities are really fucking powerful.
If you haven't played this game, like early on, you actually have to worry about range and that sort of thing. You have to hit most of your units will have to go and stand right next to the enemy unit and hit them for a certain amount of damage. Agrias' Holy Knight ability completely ignores range, and I think it's 5 tiles away. It could hit practically anything, and
stupid like that.
Yeah, it hits like a truck too. It is preposterous how much stronger she is.
Broken.
Yeah.
Yeah, like all of the sword abilities are really good. So Agrias is pretty good. Gafgarians / Dark Knights were pretty good. What's the other generic sword says? Is it Meliador's?
Meliador, yeah, she's got some kind of class. I forget what it's called.
They're pretty good. And then Sid gets all of those at once.
And he joins before Meliador does, which is weird. He is deliberately the most broken character that's ever been added to an RPG. Like, they wrote him that way. It's incredible.
I love it, though. I mean, the Final Fantasy Tactics Sid is the best Sid by far. Like, no one comes close, really. Like, he's just the coolest one, man. And he gets more dialogue in this version than he did in the original, so...
Yeah, the original had the problem where your unit could die at any point, so once you reach the point where they join the party permanently, they will never talk again unless it's Agrias' perfume side quest. That's the only thing.
Yep.
I don't think for some reason Dissidia still has to be around for several of the side quests.
Is the perfume side quest still in the game, or is that gone?
If it was it a base game or War of the Lions?
I have no idea. I don't know.
I don't remember it.
Let's find out. Agrias' perfume.
Oh yeah. There's one that you need her and her the two accompanying her as well.
You gotta wait for her birthday or something. And then they will...
I don't remember that.
There'll be a scene where Mustadio will give her perfume because he's in love with her.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't remember that. Or at least, if it's in this game, I haven't triggered it. I remember transcribing it for the War of the Lions script. I don't remember
Tanar Rouge, it looks like it is only War of the Lions, so it will not be in here.
Okay.
That sucks. All right. This is my request for Square Enix in all games too. Pokemon, you're guilty of this too. If you release a new version of your game and then remake the game, you have to keep adding all the content that you had in the previous versions. I know that's an avalanche of work that slowly grows on you. But if you're going to remake Gen 3 Pokemon, I want the Emerald content. And if you're going to remake Final Fantasy Tactics, I'm going to want Balthier in here.
And they've dug up that, some of that content actually is in the files of the game. You just can't use it.
Really?
Yeah, it's mostly just the graphics and such.
Oh, okay. Well, somebody's going to mod all this shit eventually,
content.
so,
Well, yeah, they have started modding that stuff back in, but, it's not all in there. There's something I have complained about this. Having some of the content is not the same as having all the content. It's not proof that Square's going to put it back in. Otherwise, we'd have Soul of Rebirth in Final Fantasy Pixel by now.
I know, the Pixel remasters. it was so like I do still love those versions. It was so disappointing that the extra dungeons in like 5 and 6, for instance, because the extra dungeon in 6 is the only time that game is actually even remotely difficult, and it's the only time you actually test the gameplay of that entire game. And 5, same thing. I know there's the super bosses in 5, but the extra dungeons just make that so much more fun. Like that was a big disappointment. That was for me.
Yeah. Also,
it is just that sometimes that if you take graphics from a previous version, which is what they did, the graphics in the Evil East Chronicles are mostly upscales of graphics that were in the War of the Lions. Then sometimes even if you don't intend to include that extra stuff, it's going to be there.
Also, is the multiplayer version in this, or is that just PlayStation Portable?
That was just War of the Lions.
Okay. All right, that you don't need to bring back because nobody gave a crap about that. I don't think anybody ever touched any of that stuff. But we are, I think, well past 2 hours now, so yes, we are. Well, we're just hitting 2 hours now. So maybe we should be wrapping up. We can always talk more about Final Fantasy Tactics next month or this month because we're almost a week late. We will need to get a pregnancy test.
Maybe a couple of us will finish the Evil East Chronicles and we can talk about like the small changes in the ending and such.
Okay. The intense question of Saint Ajora's gender. Many have pondered.
That too. Well, at least they clarified the robot is female.
Really?
That's the one which is a weird one. Yeah, the robot's female.
That's extremely weird. Because
I know, but
Construct 8, I'm pretty sure was genderless. Like is it actually
female voice anyway?
No, but like in the game's stats, Construct 8 is listed as female.
Oh no! They don't confirm anything like that.
So, all right.
Like they give her a female voice, which was like surprising.
Does Construct 8 have like she/her pronouns?
No, I don't think so.
Okay. I did expect that Construct 8 would talk like a robot. What is this emotion called love? That kind of thing.
No, not quite.
Does not compute. Destroy, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, not quite.
No. All right, so we have been and will continue to be the Final Fantasy Wiki Podcast. I have been your host, BlueHighwind. That was a cue for you guys to say your names again.
Who goes first?
I don't know.
This is SomeColourMage.
This is Technobliterator.
Oh, wait. This was our Halloween episode, too, secretly. So I've been BlueHighwind. And he's been something spooky mage. And the other one was just Technobliterator.
Yeah, you can't make anything scary about mine. I made it when I was 13.
The scariest age there's ever been, 13! Oh! If you're a parent, watch what your children is doing on the internet. They might be editing a wiki!
Yeah, I was, man. Crazy.
Capitalism exploiting your preteens! For ad click money!
That is terrifying.
Yeah. Alright, so this is finalfantasy.fandom.com is the website. The podcast comes out mostly once a month, though sometimes we slip into the next month if circumstances are beyond our control, which they have been. And the podcast music is La Montana de los Jovenes Caballeros off the OC Balance and Ruin, whatever soundtrack. It's Mount Koltz from Final Fantasy VI, except it's like salsa music. Okay. Thank you for letting us use that, and that's everything. I will now rest for 1,000 years. Good night.
Yeah, Good night, all. Don't let your CEO seduce your wife.
Yeah.